Hello, I thought I'd make a video about the dangers of veganism, seeing as I saw some articles recently that made me think about this, and I thought I would just put it down in video form. I'm a pretty open-minded person, and I'm always on the lookout for information on both sides of the veganism issue, particularly in relation to health. I am always looking for something that says, that veganism is dangerous or there's some kind of health implication, because I think it will help me look out for potential risks to my own health, or advice that I can give other people as well. I admit a pretty strong bias on the ethics issue, but in relation to health, I'm not really biased about it at all. And I'm always open to any information I can find. But the problem is, I haven't been able to find any articles on the dangers of veganism that actually related to a vegan diet in the way that I practice it, or anyone that I know or that I've really spoken to practices it. Most of the articles that I've read, the majority of them, there's a couple that are exceptions to this rule, but most of them were not about sort of garden variety veganism. Most of them are talking about macrobiotic diets, or I think the most dangerous ones are the ones that are based upon a literal interpretation of Genesis in the Bible. They follow Genesis word for word, which basically it says that when God created the Garden of Eden and people and all the rest of it, he said, "To every living thing I give the green herb for meat," basically, and then he said, "and it was good." So obviously, if you're reading the Bible, God, is pro-veganism, and that's a lovely concept, and I really like that. But the only problem is that if humans at one point did have the ability to synthesize their own B12 in their stomachs, they seem to have lost it. And there are some people who disagree, but looking at all the information, I wouldn't rely on the idea that we can, personally. I wouldn't risk my health on it, and I wouldn't advise anyone else to do that. And groups that follow Genesis word for word and don't supplement B12, they've had some serious problems, especially with children, because the adults who join the religion or start practicing this diet, they've been eating animal products prior to that. So they've got B12 reserves, whereas the children who are born, they don't. You're not born with B12 reserves, so you can get deficiency symptoms much sooner than an adult would. And those symptoms can be very dangerous and sometimes fatal. And also, I've heard of some diets where they're very, very strict and very limited, so it's very prescribed as to when you eat something and what you eat. So there's no leeway for listening to your body, and your body might say, "Hey, I need some fats and protein," so you might go nibble on some nuts or whatever. It's at this time you eat a salad, at this time you eat some fruit, and those diets are usually really low in fat and low in protein, which is, even though we don't need high fat diets, you do need a good mix of fats in your diet so that your body can do all the things it does fat with. It has some essential processes that it needs it for. So diets like that are obviously not suitable for use over long periods of time, and people do have problems with them. And most of the articles which say, veganism is dangerous, blah, 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 and are really hysterical about it, are from people who follow diets like that, or who have observed people on diets like that, as well as the religious diets, which incidentally, one of the children who was, killed by veganism, their parents followed one of those religious diets. So there's the religious diets, and then there's also macrobiotics and natural hygiene. But I haven't found any where they're written by ex-vegans or people observing vegans, which are about a normal vegan diet, which is very varied, has sufficient protein, has sufficient fats, and all the other, vitamins and minerals that you need, and is supplemented by B12. One notable exception is Dr. Mercola, who has an account on here, and he wrote an article called "The Naive Vegetarian," which was basically about garden variety veganism. But the only problem is that he seems to have some funny ideas. And most of the article wasn't really focused on health anyway. But one of the elements of it was that he believes that humans are obligate carnivores, which is a very, very strange idea, and not borne out by reality. The fact that people like myself and lots of other people don't eat meat and are fine, and in fact a lot of them are in better health than people who do eat meat. So that's not really very conclusive. And the other thing he says in this article is that vegans are aggressive, and the reason they're aggressive is because their natural aggression they would use in hunting is instead directed towards other people. He's basically saying there's a causal relationship between veganism or vegetarianism and aggression, right, that doesn't exist in meat eaters, basically focused around the hunting instinct. But the thing is, most meat eaters don't hunt, so they would have this pent-up aggression as well. Then the other theory that comes up sometimes is that one of the symptoms of B12 deficiency is irritability. So people are saying that vegans are so passionate, and aggressive about the cause that they believe in because they suffer from B12 deficiency. This whole theory is really back to front. It assumes, it's basically just writes off people's passion about animal rights as a malfunction or a vitamin deficiency caused by their diet. But they wouldn't have that diet if they weren't passionate about the issue. So I think it's, basically just a theory that people hold to write off any sort of logic or sanity in the whole animal rights argument. The other thing Dr. Mercola says, which I think is very strange, is that at the end of it, he just basically says he has a problem with vegans. So it's not it's not an unbiased article by any means. He says, how often have you, had a vegetarian over and, you've painstakingly created this vegetarian meal, or you've, had them sprung on you didn't know they were vegetarian, and then they rock up and they, separate the food you've made that they can eat from meat or whatever, right? And he says, but then how often have you been to their house and have them cook you meat? As if it's, we're just rude. But the thing is, though, that vegans have made a personal commitment to boycotting animal exploitation industries. So why would they make an exception for you when it's just one night, you'll live. If you don't like it, whatever, you're going home to eat what you normally eat. Yeah. So basically that's what I've found, and I've been looking and I haven't really found anything. I've been vegan now for 10 months. So it's 2 months until my 12-month veganversary, which is awesome. And I personally haven't found any detrimental effects. Basically, that's what I've found so far. Basically found nothing. If anyone has anything, anyone who's not vegan and has anything scientific to add, that would be very welcome, as long as it doesn't consist of humans need meat to live, or you need essential meaty acids to survive, or humans need protein or anything else that's that's ignorant and basically not worth reading or listening to. If you have something researched and intelligent to say, I'd really appreciate it. So I'm sorry this blog has been a bit disjointed. I've been running around in the snow all day like a crazy person, so I'm a bit wiped out now. But thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you all again soon. See ya.